subtle wisdom to do analysis. Subtle. We wouldn't even call it conceptual in our gross level of understanding conceptual. It's super refined, super clear, super capable. This wisdom. And this is clearly advanced. We just have to pretend, The main meditation then is strong concentration on the clarity of your mind. That's what you're focusing on. Okay? While you're doing this, while you're focusing, while you're concentrating, your subtle analytical wisdom, the Lama calls it your mindfulness fish. The whole way through now he refers to the mindfulness fish. So sweet. Your mindfulness fish watches intently, ready to capture the way that ego mind perceives the self-existent I, and simultaneously comprehend the non-self-existent I. So in other words, listen to this. And this is an ordinary example. If you don't know what a purse is, you can pretend to search in the lounge, but you will never know what you're looking for, so you'll go mad. So this is the point. As soon as if I say to you, I left the purse on the table, even more specific, the table, and there are 14 things on the table, and you don't know what the purse is, you can keep looking and thinking, well, maybe, no, okay, here's my purse. There's my purse, okay? There's my purse. But you don't know what a purse is. So then you're staring at it, Well, I wonder where the purse is, What's a purse? And you don't know, it's right there. But the second you know what a purse is, and it's not there, say. But say I didn't leave it there. The second you know what a purse is, the second you know what a purse is in your mind, you look at the table, and in a millisecond you go, oh my God, there's no purse there. That's the absence of a purse. Excuse me. Look at me, it's only a thermos. Come on, I'll pick it up, don't worry. Are you seeing did you get the point, or did you get a shock instead? Once you know what a purse is, there'll be two options when you look on the table, won't there? There'll either be a purse, isn't it? There'll be a purse. You say, oh, Robina, I found your purse. Right, you agree? Or you look on the table and you see thermos, this, that, blue, this. Oh, there's no purse. That's the realisation of the absence of a purse, isn't it? That's the realisation of the absence of a purse. So the millisecond you recognise what a purse is, if you say, Robina, I don't know what kind of purse is, what is it? I'll tell you. It's this pink square thing. Oh, there's no purse. So the minute you recognise what the purse would be, you look at the table and you realise the emptiness of the purse, don't you? That's what Rama just said. Are we communicating?
Yes. It doesn't exist that we sense. How can you not?
You just have to listen more, dear. Don't make it. It's not that simple. Come on. If it were that simple, why are they talking all these complicated words? Excuse me. Just be a bit patient. So, the main meditation is concentrating on the clarity of your mind. And then a subtle part of your wisdom, like this little fish, without moving, without disturbing the clarity, is watching. It's a wisdom, it's a subtle wisdom in your mind. Watching, checking, to notice how the ridiculous I is grasping. And that's why it's hard to find the absence of it, because it doesn't exist. But that's not enough to say it. It's not helpful because we believe it's been there for a few eons. We have been believing and believe every millisecond. Every action we do, every thought we have, everything we say is based on the assumption of the presence of this I. So it's not enough to say it doesn't exist. It's too cheap, So we have to conjure up what we think it would be, which means it has to be something independent. That's the part that gets difficult for us. So we have to come up with a clear, crystal clear, intellectually beforehand, a crystal clear intellectual comprehension of what an independent I would be if it did exist. That's the part and that takes years in your own life, while you're walking, while you're talking, and in your meditation. It takes years. And once you have established clearly what an I would be if it didn't exist, just like the purse, once you've established, a purse is ordinary because it does exist. This I doesn't exist. But the principle's the same. You've got to identify what you're looking for. The second you know what a purse looks like, at the same time as looking at the table, you also realise the absence of the purse. You with me? That's it. But if you don't know what a purse is, even if the purse isn't there, you won't notice. That's the point. So you've got to know what it is you're looking for. And that's the job to be done, which is what's hard. And in meditation, with your mind very subtle, the mindfulness fish can catch, as all the mind's doing all its trip, you catch That's why in daily life, how this works is this. The ego grasping, the delusion that believes in the independent I is there all the time, but often it's not explicit. It's like a sleeping lion. But when David is mean to me, when the car nearly runs you over, when someone insults you, that's when it rises. The feeling of that I rises. This panic, this fear. Fear is its nature. How dare you do that to me? Now, normally what happens is, when that happens in normal life, because we're not aware, I will then buy into the story of there being a real I, and then attachment will come, anger will come, jealousy will come, and I'll follow the story. We just miss the opportunity to catch the I. So if we're really wanting to catch the I, then we will be glad to be insulted. We will be glad that David is mean to me. We will be glad the car nearly ran us over, because that's an opportunity to catch the I. So that's how advanced we're not. Do you understand what I'm saying? You'll be so happy. Please punch me again, you know, I want to catch the I. Because then you in your daily life, your mindful fish is watching all the time. This is really the analysis we have to do. Just a second, please. This is really the one we have to look at. First of all, in the ordinary level, we're looking for the attachment. We're looking for the anger. There it is. What's its story? This is the deepest one. Yeah.
Who is being insulted?
Well, I can't hear you, darling.
Who is being insulted?
Sweetheart, this is where you're confused. This is always the question we ask, because we confuse the conventional and the ultimate understanding. So there's a confusion, because you're thinking if there's no I, then you're asking the question, who is doing it? The answer is you are. So this is the trouble. Because we hear there's no independent I, we think there's no I. That's why we ask the question, well, who's doing it? So we've got to get used to realising there is an I, the conventional one, and there is a ridiculous view of the I, but we can't tell the difference. So the simple answer is you are. But the more precise answer is which part of you, it's your mind. And which part of your mind, your wisdom, your mindfulness, this and that. So we've got to get used to understanding the conventional existence of you does not contradict the absence of the inherent you. And these are the two we get confused about. The answer is you are. There's conventional you, and there's a right you and a wrong you. We have to hear those words. So don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, because there's no inherent you, but there's no you. Of course there's a you, but it's so subtle, it's as if there's not a you. So that's not, do you understand? Just have to get used to that view. Yeah.
Could you say that this fish, if he has compassion?
No, nothing to do with that. Nothing to, Betty, that's completely irrelevant here. Nothing to do with anything. That's completely not the issue here at all. It's completely, it's nothing to do with anything.
And there's a second question, if the more actually...
Well, darling, what?
The more you have attachment, the more you have all these things that we're talking about,
Yeah.
you want to eradicate, maybe it will be easier to identify there being there.
No, yeah, sure, but you don't. But you know, we have all the wrong views about it. We think it's normal. We think I'm allowed to be it. You know, of course, you'd think so. If you're an advanced practitioner, then yes, you'd be glad when someone's insulting you. But check the last time you were happy you were insulted. Check the last time your attachment didn't get what it wanted. Check the last time you were depressed or angry. We're not happy about it. But if you're a yogi, you can't wait because you want to catch. That's the mindfulness fish. So if you're really doing it as you're driving on the road and a car comes in front of you, you'll be completely calm, you're crystal clear, you know exactly what's going on, but your mindfulness fish is watching the panic-stricken Betty arise. You're so happy it happened. Honey, that's advanced. Is it not? Do you hear me? Yeah.
Something I'm not, I haven't understood about the
What?
frame. Something I'm not clear
Yeah.
about the frame of the
Yes.
teaching.
Yes.
When I practice finding the I, when my ego is hurt, when I'm trying to
Locate
catch
what we think the inherent, the aura is in there. Yes.
And I continue doing it and I don't find it. But I'm sure there is, so I keep doing it.
Yeah. So, okay, go on. Finish, and I'll say the thing.
Is this part of, if this practicing itself will lead me after hours of meditations, sessions, to realize that there is no I?
No, the piece that's missing. You missed the first piece, which is you have to identify crystal clear what it is.
Okay.
Like again, for something that does exist, like the purse, we know that there can be a purse. So again, I want to say this point. Try to see the point. We do. This is a simple example. We do know there can be such a thing as a purse. So once I know, you see, if I'm not sure about what a purse is, this is the point now, we don't quite know how to identify the I, do we? That's why we don't realise the emptiness of it. So if I'm not sure which of these things is a purse, and I keep umming and ahhing, or maybe it's there, maybe not sure what a purse is, but the second I recognise in my mind the image of a purse, the second I'm confident what a purse is, that second I look on the table, simultaneously I realise the absence of the purse, because now I know what a purse is. So the job is to continue to refine and refine and refine what we think the object of negation is. And when we finally identify it simultaneously, you will have the realisation of the absence of it. These two come together.
Is this all practice is a preparation for, or is part
This
of
is the
Mahamudra?
practice. No, darling. This is the... Huh? Say it again.
Is this all practice of trying to identify the I, the object? Is this practicing, when I do that, is this preparation for Mahamudra, or can I say I'm practicing Mahamudra?
Let's practice it, Mahamudra.
Thank
No. No. This is ordinary Laktong. This is ordinary special insight meditation. By thinking about dependent arising, you're using logic, and that will trigger the insight into the absence of the I. The Mahamudra component is the concentration. Your first mode is on the mind itself. That's the key that makes it Mahamudra. So you're concentrating on the consciousness, the clarity of your consciousness. And that's so powerful as an object of meditation that when you go to the second mode and have the mindfulness fish, you're focusing crystal clear, and then the mindfulness fish, you activate conscious. When you're doing concentration, you're trying to not have thoughts, the focus. And then now when you're steady, you then activate a subtle wisdom, a part of your mind, Lama calls the mindfulness fish, to move around in your mind without disturbing the concentration. So before lunch, I'll just read you what Lama says here. This sounds to us contradictory. So that's the component that makes it Mahamudra, the object of concentration, and that's your main meditation, always the concentration on the clarity of the mind. But you get deeper and deeper concentration and a more and more skillful mindfulness fish that's watching what's going on inside, watching for the I.
Is observing the right word for it then?
Pardon?
Observing, is that a
Yeah,
different word?
with super intelligent, super skillful, super sharp, trying to identify what we think the I is in there. Because even though we've still got concentration, the ego's still working, you know. So the Mahamudra component that makes it Mahamudra, insight is just developing realization into emptiness. The method here is using the clarity of your mind as the object of concentration. And in the Mahamudra component where you're using insight, the concentration is the main meditation. But you're using your mindfulness fish. So as Lama says, before we have lunch, okay, do not think that because you are attempting to concentrate on the mind, you can't at the same time have another part of your mind be aware, be watching. That's a conception we have. You understand? That's a misconception we have.
Can you read it again?
Okay. When we've got concentration, it's so, when we've got it really, so sharp, so crystal clear. It's like you've got unbelievable brilliance, like a brilliant, sharp mind. It's not dull, you're not just spaced out, all these weird ideas. It's crystal clear, sharp. So you can then use subtle wisdom without disturbing the concentration. So even on a relative level, Lama uses an example. So again, I'll say it. Do not think that because you're attempting to concentrate on the mind, you can't at the same time have another part of your mind be aware, be watching. So concentration itself is only concentration. You get your concentration, that's the skill. Now you use your concentration and you open yourself to insight now. Your concentration is all happening, but now you actively, consciously activate a part of your wisdom to do analysis. Subtle. Now you're hearing the words. Lama gives an analogy. Simple. For example, as you sit here meditating, at whatever level we've got, okay? Whatever level we've got of concentration. As you sit here meditating, you still notice the sounds of the breathing of the others, the movement in the room, but you don't get distracted. Well, this is the point about the car. You're driving, this is an ordinary level of an analogy. You're driving the car. You're totally focused on the job at hand. But you're noticing all these other things out of the corner of your eye. You notice that red car over there zooming in and out. You notice this guy here. And that's why when if emotions are coming, you'll upset and freak out. But if you're clear, nothing will disturb you. You're super focused, but you notice everything going on around you. We have that experience all the time. And if your concentration is good, then you don't get distracted when the big noise comes. You don't get upset when the thing over there happens, which is what we do now. We're like little birds. As soon as there's a noise, we go over to it. Oh, what's that? Then we get upset. We're hopeless. When you've got concentration, you'll be fierce. You won't lose the plot if you nearly get crashed. Just having concentration, because your mind is steady as a rock. Do you understand what I'm saying, people?
Yes.
That's an ordinary experience. Here, we're talking subtle concentration, but still you can use the mind at that level for subtle analysis. That's not what we ordinarily think.
Beautiful.
Huh? Yes.
It's like a separate. You concentrate a part of it.
No, wait, listen to Lama. Listen.
Ah, okay.
In the Tibetan texts, they use the... Okay, so, and don't think that the mindfulness fish is separate. Like a separate thought. It's not. Yes, one part of your mind just keeps going, concentrating on the clarity, while another part, the mindfulness fish, watches intently. They do have different functions. Initially you experience them as separate, but as you learn to let go, you will experience them as unified. Let's just imagine that as well. In other words, the way we're talking about the mind here is not the way we talk about the mind in our world, because we're talking about the brain. This is something way more subtle. And when we understand this view of the mind, how it's clear and vast, all these words, it's a very different view of the universe. Do you understand? I just think, I mean, whether he's right or not, I just think it's delicious. It's quite extraordinary, talking about the mind like this. Do you understand?
You're quoting from where exactly?
Lama Yeshe's book called Mahamudra, which is, I edited. This is the work I did. That's my job. I edit books. And Lama Yeshe is being published by Wisdom early next year.
So you're listening before its publication.
Huh? Yeah, this is the manuscript that I've been working on for the last couple of years. Yeah.
Thank you.
And it's called Mahamudra, How to Discover Our Own True Nature. It's just a little book, very short, and it's coming out next year from Wisdom.
This year.
Huh? This year, sorry, this year. Beg your pardon, this year. It's lunchtime. So we'll go on after lunch, okay? Continue after lunch. Are we communicating?